Okay, so hello everyone. Hello, thank you for joining us for yet another live this evening with W.A.G.E, Women Advocating for Gender Equality. Tonight we have an absolute fantastic show for everyone. I really hope that you guys are going to enjoy it. And our show is going to be about Black codes. Now, you know, I'm into educating, right? And I think that this is something that for those of us who have heard of it before, it'll be a great refresher. For those who haven't, again, you're in for a treat. So let's start this party off right. And I'm gonna start off with just showing you this picture, right? Black codes. So these were basically the three parts, right, of it. Number one, could not own property or guns. Like, can you imagine? No voting rights. This is huge because right now, again, in at least 48 states, legislation is being introduced so that we do not have voting rights, or that our voting rights are oppressed. And last but not least on this list, at least, which is a short one, if no job, you could actually be arrested and forced to work with no pay. So the reason why this is really important that we do this show, we know that even today there was a situation with hundreds of people coming home from incarceration here to the city of Newark. So the concern is always, where are these people going to actually live? Where are they going to stay, right? And this is also the situation of our residents without addresses, right? Where are they going to live? Where are they going to stay? And right now, instead of talking about how we're going to develop low-income housing, the conversation has become centered around shelters and putting them in shelters. But what is the sustainability of putting literally hundreds of people in shelters, right? That's not a long game. So what could possibly be a long game is not being on a plantation as it was back in the day, but being in a situation where you're going to have to work at a minimum wage so that you could pay for the space where you're staying. And don't think that that can't happen. And we're going to talk more about that as time goes on. But first, I want to show you my first video clip so that you guys can get a little bit familiar with what it is. We're going to just show the first video clip. So just bear with me. Video clip 1.
The book, Black Labor, White Wealth, has taken Black America by storm. Tonight, Dr. Claude Anderson revisits the issues surrounding the controversial book.
Work with me because this is not the right clip.
On this,
you guys work with me. This is not the right clip. We need video clip 1. So again, just welcome you guys while we're working on that. Just welcome. You guys have, again, what a treat this evening. I'm going to be introducing our co-host very shortly, but I want to show you a very quick 2-minute video that's very much related. Oh my goodness, this phone starts to ring again. I'm gonna see if I could put my phone on airplane mode. I hope that doesn't change up anything so that hopefully it won't ring. Okay, I'm still waiting for video clip 1 here. Okay, I don't know what's going on with my video clip 1. We're gonna wait a few more minutes for it to come in. Hopefully it's coming in. It's buffering. Okay, so while we're waiting, I don't know what's going on with my video clip because we just checked this before we started and everything was cool, but it's acting up right now. It's being a little disrespectful. Okay, so we're going to keep our show short tonight, but it's going to be very enlightening. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead while we're waiting for video clip 1 to begin and introduce our co-host. So we're going to bring Akan to the screen.
Hey, how you doing? How y'all doing tonight? All right. Sister Sheila, how you feeling? I'm doing all right.
I'm feeling great. I'm feeling great. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. Listen.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome. So you know how I feel about educating the masses on things that are really relevant to what we're dealing with today, because all of us are, relevant to each other. If you can just tell them a little bit about yourself, and we're going to get started right away because I don't know what's going on with my clip. I'm waiting for my clip. I have 2 short clips that I'm going to share. Okay, so again, what is our title here? Being Black in America, right? What does it mean to be Black in America? Akan, you want to set us off this evening?
Yes. Well, thank you for letting me come on your show tonight
Absolutely.
to get into this subject, because this is something that a lot of people are not aware of. Being Black in America, we have to look at the understanding of what Black is in America. Now, Black, socially, people look at Black as an ethnic group, but under law, it's something totally different. Under law, Black is a legal status. It does not represent or define an ethnic group. Now, I said socially, people look at Black as an ethnic group or maybe even a race. But under law, it is a legal status. It is a position held by something or someone or a group with regards to law. Now, it has a set of privileges, obligations, power or restrictions that a person or thing has, which are encompassed or declared by legislation, meaning that the legislation is passed through Congress or the Supreme Court. So the legal status Black, okay, is civiliter mortuus, means dead in the eyes of the law. It has no legal standing under law. Okay, the way that we define Black socially, okay, do not coincide the way that is defined lawfully under law. So that's to be Black in America lawfully is to be in a dead status that has no standing in law or any protection under law.
Absolutely incredible. So again, that's just a snippet of what we're about to learn tonight. So we're going to go straight to our video. It's only going to take like a minute or so. Let's start up the first video clip.
65 and early 1860s, these new governments in the South, all white governments created by Andrew Johnson, going to have to deal with the situation of the former slaves. What is their status going to be? What rights are they going to have? And so they passed these laws to regulate the conditions of the former slaves. So the Black Codes are really an attempt to use the power of the government to get, not as slave labor, that's gone, but as forced labor, where Blacks would be paid some minimal wage, but they would have no alternative but to go to work for white employers. They don't go into effect. In fact, in early 1866, Congress passes the Civil Rights Law, which actually says that all laws must apply equally to all citizens. And that abrogates all these Black Codes because they're only for Blacks. But they're important as a sign of what the white South has in mind for Blacks, unless the federal government comes in and protects them. Now, they give them some rights. They're no longer slaves. They can't be bought and sold. Their marriages are now going to be legally recognized as they weren't under slavery. They can own property in some states. Actually, Mississippi barred them from owning land. But that's it. They had no right to vote. They had no right to serve on juries. They had no right to testify in court in cases involving white people. They could not own guns the way white people could. And most importantly, they had to go to work for white people. They had to sign year-long labor contracts with a white employer. Otherwise, they would be called vagrants, arrested, fined, and if they couldn't pay the fine, they'd be auctioned off to some white person who could pay the fine. So in other words, a Black guy with land working for himself, that's illegal. You got to work for a white employer. He'd be arrested as a vagrant and sold to a white employer, basically. They couldn't go to work for themselves. They couldn't follow a trade, something like that. That's why Mississippi barred them from even owning land, so that they had no alternative but to work for white planters. So the Black Codes are a very, very restrictive idea of what freedom really would mean for these former slaves.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so very much. So you see, it's setting the groundwork for exactly what you're talking about this evening.
That's right.
Exactly where we are. And I just want to connect this, right? When he's talking about the land, right? we had this sweetheart deal that took place here in the city of Newark on Valentine's Day, where people were given these lots and this land, right? But what happened was, for a cheap price, for an inexpensive price. But what happened was nobody told these people how to develop the land, what development actually is. These are not just fly by the seat of your pants terminology. So
That's right.
you know what to do, how to do it, and many people ended up not, just getting the most out of that situation. So this is how it's just relative to what it is that we're dealing with now. For those of you who have not shared this broadcast, please take the time to do so, because again, very important information. Akan, I'd like to start, if it's possible, with you with the first question that I have. Is Black recognized as a race or legal status under law? We need to know that.
Under law, it's not recognized as a race or ethnic group. It's recognized as a legal status. It is a legal status, which, like I said, is civiliter mortuus, which means dead in the eyes of the law, meaning it has no legal standing in law. It has no equal standing with anybody that's classified as white. Okay, now this goes back to the slavery days under law, where I could use an example of the Dred Scott decision of 1857 as my case in point, how Black has no standing in law. Now, it reads, the landmark decision of the United States Supreme Court, in which the court stated that the United States Constitution was not meant to include American citizenship for people of African descent, regardless if they were enslaved or free. And also it stated that the Black man has no inalienable rights that the white man is obligated to recognize or respect. So these Black codes goes back to slavery days of back when the first Black codes that was enforced here was in Virginia back in 1699. Now, the African slaves that was brought here on ships, and also the Aboriginal Native American that had similar phenotype as the African slaves, was also thrown under the Black codes. Now, mind you, Black codes is not just in America. Black codes was in Spain back in the late 1400s when they started to, when they defeated the Moors and expelled a lot of the Moors out of Spain. The Moors that was still there, they put Black codes on them. It was called Códigos Negros. And that was back in the late 1400s. Also in Brazil, when the Portuguese ended up colonizing Brazil, a lot of the Brazilian Indians, they put them under Black codes, and they labeled them and branded them as Negro de Terra, which also are Black codes, which is a color caste system.
Wow.
So yeah,
my question is, how do we end up getting those labels?
Well, we got those labels so we could never, ever be considered a citizen. So we wouldn't have legal standing, where if somebody white or somebody that was classified as white harmed us or injured us, there was no way that we could ever have protection under law. The Casual Killing Act back in the day, where a white person could kill their property and it would be considered lawful for them to do that. So they would not get lawfully punished for it. So these Black codes didn't give us no standing in law. We wasn't recognized as citizens. We wasn't recognized as human beings. We was pretty much invisible in law, meaning dead in the eyes of the law, meaning you're not recognized as citizens, you're not recognized as an ethnic group, you're not recognized as a race.
So next question is the word white, is that recognized in law?
Well, white is a legal status, but they have naturalized rights, because the white is defined as natural person under law.
Really?
Yes, if you look in the Black Law Dictionary and you look up the definition Black, it says it is the contrast, distinguished from white. So lawfully, Black and white can't share the same space in law. It's the contrast of each other. So we don't get naturalized rights, we don't get human rights, but because white is defined as natural person, i.e. quasi, they are granted naturalized rights. They're granted standing in law. So they're granted rights in and lawful standing that we're not granted being classified as black. So it's the contrast in a color caste system, and judicially is the contrast of black.
Now, you mentioned that before, the color caste system. Would you like to
Yes.
just give some clarity as to what exactly that is?
Well, the color caste system, to simplify, is a racial hierarchy or social status hierarchy. That's why when you see people talking about pro-integration, socially you can integrate. Legally, you can't integrate judicially because white is the contrast of black in the color caste system and in the judicial system. The color caste system is a hierarchy, mostly a racial hierarchy, where you have black people on the bottom and you have white people as the dominant society. So the color caste system is branding people by the social status through colors, making it a colorable caste system by saying black people, mainly black people that could trace their lineage back to the plantations of the North and South, is classified as black, and mainly Caucasians that's in the society is classified as white. But it does not have equal standing. It is a hierarchy, meaning black people is the underclass and white people is the dominant society, whoever's classified as white. So the color caste system, a lot of people don't know what that is. They don't even know in the color caste system. It definitely plays a part in our society, and it definitely affects our lives as being black here in America.
Very interesting information. If anyone has any questions, just a reminder to our listening audience, please feel free to post your questions in the comment section. As they come up, we will absolutely address them. My next question is color of law. You mentioned that. What do you mean when you say the color of law? What does that mean?
Well, the color of law is repressive laws that was created for the color caste system. And color of law was created to marginalize black people, where they could give us no equal standing with white people. The color law are repressive laws that was created after slavery, so we could never have true racial equality with white people in society. So they have laws in place that ties into our classification as black, which is a dead status, a repressive law pretty much to suppress us and marginalize us as a people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So
it's a legal suppression. That's what it is. Legally, you can marginalize us and have repressive laws that affect us socially, academically, economically, judicially, and overall socially. So it affects every aspect of our life to keep us marginalized. This is the reason why we have a hard time growing and elevating as a people, because it's like a glass ceiling, the color of law. It makes it hard. Yeah, like I said, it's a law for suppression. It's hard for us to be able to grow and get any type of growth as a people when you have these laws causing obstruction to the progress.
Yeah. So with that being said, I want to just pause for a moment, and we're going to share a short video clip again so that people can really get visualization of exactly what you're talking about in video.
Almost immediately, most former rebel states enact harsh laws known as black codes.
The black codes are laws designed to regulate the lives of blacks, in particular to control their movements throughout the South and to force them back onto the plantations as farm laborers working for the white landlords.
Some codes prohibit blacks from owning firearms, buying liquor, or engaging in any trade or business other than farming. The land promised to the freedmen is returned to unrepentant rebels, sentencing blacks to a landless existence for generations to come. Often, white landowners would hire freed slaves to work the harvest, only to chase them off the land when their wages came due. Unable to collect their meager earnings, many blacks starved to death.
Johnson looked the other way as these ex-Confederate governments reimposed stringent controls over the black race through the black codes, which were a de facto form of slavery in that they regulated the daily lives of blacks, much like apartheid in South Africa.
Some states go so far as to legalize the beatings of former slaves who are considered to have misbehaved.
Beating Black people who step out of line for, things such as not getting off the sidewalk when you see a white man or white woman walking by. So small infractions are things that can be perceived as shucking that Southern way of life, so to speak.
Okay. Thank you so much for that clip. Thank you so much for that clip. There were so many things that I saw there, and I want to comment on it, but I want to just, Akan, what was your initial, thought processes as it relates to this when you saw this clip? And then I want to share mine as well.
Well, it shows you that it stunted the progress. When you look at that clip and see historically what we've been going through, ain't nothing changed. All they did was upgrade the slave caste system. That's all they have done. Okay, they have created restrictive laws so we wouldn't be able, like I said, to have equal standing or compete equally with the white dominant society. And this was to keep us a slave class, and under these restrictive laws through the black codes. So we'll be in vulnerable positions where we would have to work, for white industries, not just as laborers, but also as the entertainment, as athletes, where it's totally dominated, like the NFL, the NBA, all of these leagues are white dominated. There's a lot of white owners. I don't even think there's black owners. So the black codes has put us in a position where we don't own no industries. We don't own any corporations where we can compete on a fair basis with the white people that's in this society, and not just here, but globally. You see what's happening? Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. I'm just so excited. I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is the information that needs to be dispersed because so many people feel that, oh, we don't own land because we're dumb, or we don't have.
No, it's by design.
Yeah, we're working hard as other people, and people come here from different places and they assume that same thing. But
that's right.
It's not true. And what happens is even those of us who are here go along with it because we don't know our history. We don't know about codes. For many of us, this is the first time that we're ever hearing about it. And even though we've pushed to have legislation in place like the Amistad Act to be in our school districts, right, to teach them, our history. Because it's really not Black history, it's American history. And they don't teach it. It's been, the legislation has been passed since 2002. It's 2022. And even if there's a lot of talk about CRT, critical race theory, they're not going to talk about Black codes. I could bet you dollars to
no, they're not. This is the best hidden secret to Black people. Yeah, because like I said, if you remove us from the bottom of the color caste system collapsed.
Absolutely.
And historically, they have thrived off of the racial inequality here.
Right.
Okay.
And I want to point out at least 4 things that I noticed with this movie really quick, with this short excerpt. Number one, it came on with a foot on the neck. It was so symbolic to what we saw with George Floyd.
Yes.
And people who know the history, that's why that image hit different. You understand what I'm saying? As they know, but so many of so much of the masses don't know. That was one thing that stood out to me. Another thing, they mentioned the term landless existence. Is that not where we are right now?
Yes, we are, because we are nationless people being classified as Black. Like I said, it's not an ethnic group. It don't classify you as a nationality.
And that's what impedes us from, I believe, being eligible for reparations. Like
reparations, yes. Yeah, because you have to prove that you was already here as the indigenous people of this landmass.
Right, which is a crock to me, because everybody knows that we were already here.
That's right. But like I said, even when you take the wrong ancestral test, it don't come back right. They never mention about your Native American ancestry. So
Right.
you know that a lot of that is questionable.
Right. The third thing I want to point out of four, they said that slavery was regulated of blacks, meaning that slavery never really went away. It just kept reinventing itself.
Reinventing itself. It's, you know, it was being revived,
It was, and
upgraded.
it still is. And that brings me to my
to
last,
this present day.
to
We
this
still subjected under black codes. Correct.
Absolutely. And this brings me to the last point that I noticed when they said, you know, because the slaves would be beaten if they got out of line. Are we not beaten now?
That's right, with law enforcement, with these white supremacists that have been deputized and incentivized to harm us.
Yeah, but
with impunity.
Let me finish. Yeah, give me one moment. I'm just all
Yeah,
yours.
also.
Because that part was huge to me, because when they talk about beating or lynching, if one of us got out of line, it is 2022 and they still do that. Okay, they might not physically get a literal, you know, a whipping.
A whip, yeah.
But what does happen is they take your job, right? Because they're going to put you in place when you step out of your place, or they're going to humiliate you, or they're going to come for your finances, or they're going to come for whatever you own. They're going to come for you. You're going to be in trouble. And it was the same thing that they said when you step out of line. If you question anything, there's repercussions to that.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, please elaborate, you know, on your thoughts, you know, as it pertains to that.
Well, being black in America, and also I'm just talking about the legal status, is for you to play your position. It's not for you to speak against the government. It's not for you to speak about the laws or speak against the laws. It's not to bring awareness to your people. They look at that as oppositional. They look at that as you being a resistance. When you just speaking truth. This is why they want to get rid of critical race theory, because a lot of black people are starting to research now to try to find the truth and opposition here.
Right.
And you see,
this should be regular conversation. This should be
this should be common. This should be common knowledge. Yeah.
But anywhere you go, and this was so important to have this conversation tonight, because somebody said to me, you know, Sheila, you know, oh, you know, you're running for mayor for everybody. You know, you keep talking about the black stuff. Whoa. One of the first things we got to do is decrease crime. And the best way to decrease crime, right, is to increase self-esteem, to have people who are predominantly creating the crime, not just here in Newark, but in inner cities all around the America and the globe. You have to address that. And a lot of it happens out of ignorance. What is ignorance? The definition just meaning not knowing.
You just don't know.
You just don't know. So when you do know, right, and that level of knowledge grows, the crime goes down. One of my major 3 platforms is public safety. And we gotta understand how important that is to address public safety. We have to address the root cause. We just can't say we just gonna throw the police at them. Because maybe you could speak to this, mass incarceration.
Well, mass incarceration
amendment.
See, you know, when you look at the 13th Amendment, it says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, you know, would be enforced unless you committed a crime. Okay, well, this shouldn't be an exception to slavery if you abolish slavery. If you look at the 13th Amendment, they said that, you know, neither slavery or involuntary servitude, except if you commit a crime, it can be punishable, you know, by imprisonment. There's an exception to slavery. So if you abolish slavery and you're saying there's an exception to slavery is oxymoron. All you're saying is that slavery is still in effect. Okay? So I feel that in our society, that the way our society is structured, especially the black community, you put us in areas and you overpopulate us in areas with limited resources where it forced people to have to do whatever they have to do to survive. You know, when you're starving, survival instinct kicks in. You can only be morally correct if your situation allows you to be morally correct, okay? And it puts you in a position where you might have to commit crime. I know some brothers right now that's working and is forced to do something on the side just for them to be able to afford to pay their rent. So they're being put in positions where they might have to commit crime and risk their lives. But at the same time, if they do get arrested and they're in the court of law, they have no standing in law, lawfully being classified as black. This is how they end up getting shafted into the prison industrial complex. Okay, and then now you're seeing the school prison pipeline due to the fact that the young black males have no standing in law being classified as black. Okay, so yeah, you see a lot of this happening because of the way that the infrastructure is set up. It's set up for us to be funneled in the prison industrial complex. And there's an exception to slavery. If you read the 13th Amendment, if you read it carefully, but you have to read it correctly, because it's saying except if you commit a crime. Okay, so you can't, how you gonna say you abolish slavery, but there's an exception to slavery. That means that slavery is still in effect.
Or we don't.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's oxymoron to say kinda, we abolish slavery kinda. Whatever we deem as a crime, we gonna lock you up though.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and again, conversations are important to be had because people need to understand this. And you'd be surprised, a lot of the legislators that we have from every level of government, everyone is not in receipt of this information, which brings me, I want to segue for a minute. Christian black codes, is that a thing? What is that?
Well, Christian black codes came about in the 1700s. Okay, the Christian black codes first started off because the Christian church was involved in the slave trade. The Catholic Church was involved in the slave trade back in the 16 and 1700s after the Moors was defeated by the Christendom Empire in Spain. So the Christian black codes was created because black people was enslaved, but we was also classified as property of church and state. Okay, so we was considered Catholic property. A lot of people don't even know on your birth certificate, it doesn't matter what religion you subscribe to. Your birth certificate, you're classified as Catholic, regardless what religion you subscribe to. A lot of people don't know that. They say that we are still classified as chattel property. So the Christian black codes was ushered in when we was enslaved, and we was property of the church at one time. So we was considered Catholic church property at that time as slaves. Chattel mean cattle, so we was classified as chattel stock. This is why they was able to implement the 3/5 Human Act, because we was classified as chattel stock, i.e. chattel property. So this what kept us outside of the human family, recognized as a people, recognized even as human. And to make the record straight, 3/5 human law is still in the Constitution. It has not been removed nor eradicated.
It's a lot thinking.
Yeah, the rabbit hole gets deeper and deeper. You understand?
Dead status.
Yeah.
What is meant by dead status?
The dead status, like I said, is the black status. They synonymous with each other. Civiliter mortus mean dead in the eyes of the law. This is how we're classified as a legal status. Excuse me. Some water.
Yeah, sure. And also, I'd like to know, how does that affect us? And because I'm always concerned, right, with our young men in court, and they don't always know the jargon, right? And how does that impact us as a dead status? Like, how does that impact us, and does it have an impact on mass incarceration?
Yeah, it does. The dead status definitely have impact on mass incarceration because we have no laws to protect us. Then in the eyes of law, it's pretty much saying we're invisible in law. You know, they can make it up as they go along when we in the courthouse and, in the courtroom or in the court of law. And you see it. There's a lot of brothers that get unjust sentences, lengthy sentences. That phrase Karen, when they call and falsely accuse a black man or black people of committing a crime, the cops don't really investigate it. They come and start locking people up. So that shows you we have no standing in law.
Yeah. It's almost like the police is not here to protect us.
They're not.
Who are they here to protect, Akan?
They're here to protect anybody who has standing in law, but they mostly here to in our communities, they're here to protect the business owners and the real estate owners. Absolutely. They're only there to They're only there to contain us and make sure that they enforce black codes on us because they know we have no standing in law. They don't even know the part of black codes is congregating in front of congregating more than 2-3 people. That's a part of the black codes. And you see all them loitering signs in front of buildings. Those are black codes, and people don't even know that. They think they just enforcing the law because we all just, loitering and all that. No, it's deeper than that. They're enforcing black codes in our areas. You could go into a white area, you don't see them loitering signs in front of buildings and houses and stuff like that. So so that's also a black code too. Black people congregating.
And so, guys, I don't want you to just take our word for it. I just want to share. And before I do that, I want to bring this picture back up, Akan. Can you tell us something about this picture? We're going to take this banner off. I'm going to try to get this banner off really quick. Thank you so much. Akan, can you tell us something about this picture?
Yeah, you can see that this is a chain gang. This is when you see the picture, you see brothers that got locked up after the black codes were implemented in law. Okay, so it went from working on the plantation to being funneled into the prison system for free labor. And this is the 13th Amendment, what I was talking about, the exception of slavery, which you're saying right here. Of them being accused for a crime, falsely accused for a crime, being funneled in the prison industrial complex as free, so they could do free labor. This is free black labor right here. This is a form of slavery when you look at the picture. So when you see could not own property or guns, yes, we could not own property and guns because we was not considered citizens. We was, like I said, the dead status didn't grant us citizenship. No voting rights, we wasn't allowed to vote. And if no jobs, could be arrested and forced to work for no pay. So what they saying is that they was going to force you to have to work for a white industry or a white company or a white corporation so you could help build their generational wealth. We was never brought here. The original American dream was for people of European descent to come to this country, get free land, and get black people to work that land to build their generational wealth. Now you see in our communities, you have people that come from other countries, they'll buy commercial space in our communities and use us, to build their generational wealth with our dollar. Okay?
And that's the trajectory that we're heading in now as a nation.
Exactly, yes.
Absolutely. And then, and like I said, it hurts me deeply because when I'm talking to so many people who don't know this information, they internalize it and they feel it's me making these decisions. I've done, and even other people will say, oh, they made those decisions, they went to jail, and it's set up like that. This is all by this. And it's not to be confrontational. It's not to make people mad or upset, but the knowledge is the knowledge. And so what we want to do, and we want to unite, right, as a country. These are things that we have to talk about. These are the things that we have to progress past, and how we do that. Now, and I want to show you guys a couple of books and then we're going to go straight to the comments. Can you tell us something about this book, The Color of Law?
Well, The Color of Law of Richard Rothstein is basically breaking down the history and how we ended up with color of law. The color of law first started with the Negro Act, where they was going to create a caste system where we was never going to be equal to anybody that is white in this society. It was how they developed and created the color caste system by making white people the dominant society and making black people the permanent underclass in this society.
Absolutely.
Well, laws in place to suppress us at the bottom of the caste system so we could never, ever grow and be equal to white people in society.
Right. And the reason why I'm giving these books as just some background, and I'm going to go back there, I'm sorry, is because the last show I did, not one, but 2 people contacted me and they took over a page of notes. So I thought that was phenomenal in terms of just getting the information out there so we can grow ourselves and be better ultimately, right?
Each one to each one, yeah.
Right, and so these books are available. Like, this information didn't just fall out of the sky. So again, it's The Color of Law. So if you want to take note of that, somebody could put it in the comments. Thank you. The next book, Black Law Dictionary. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's a lot of definitions and terms under black law, so you can understand the terms from a legal understanding, not from a social understanding. Like black is a dead status, but black is a legal status under law. Socially, like I said, people look at it from a socially, from a social definition of black being an ethnic group or a race. Okay, socially and legally is two different things. So when you're in a court of law, they're looking at it from a legal understanding, not a social understanding. So you have a lot of terms and stuff that we're still subjected under today, like color of law, black person, color of authority, color of office. These are the terms, and you can look through and just get the knowledge, so you can be very informed. It's very informative, so you can have the information, so you can pass on the information, so we can find ways to get a lot of these laws or all these laws redacted off the books, so we can start having equal justice in law.
And I'm glad you said that, because that is also our goal, to ensure that these laws become, these ancient, antiquated laws become redacted. So
that's right.
So there's something about the editions also.
Yes.
This is the 4th edition. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the 4th edition, it has the terms, because like I said, the book has been revised in the present day, and they don't got some of the terms that they have in the 4th edition that they're still enforcing to this day. So that's why it's essential to get at least a 3rd edition, if not a 4th edition, or a 5th edition, if not a 4th edition, because it still have these terms that we're subjected under to this day. When you start getting the later books, they revised them and they took certain terms out.
Right.
And that's really to keep the people ignorant to certain things, so they could never be savvy in law, especially black people.
So just again, audience, be mindful that these books are the 3rd and 4th edition, because online you'll see like the 10th and 11th edition and stuff like that. So you want to get the earlier editions, right? So that you're getting information that is raw.
That's right. You got to start at the origin,
right?
Because they have not really, they didn't redact nothing. We have no standing in law. They didn't change nothing. They just kind of use smoke and mirrors with other laws, so we can be, as a diversion. So we don't know where to look. The thing is that, we don't know where to research. And that's the reason why we remain incompetent when it comes to the laws we subjected under, because we have no idea.
Right.
Either we're not educated or we've been miseducated, on how to be lawfully savvy.
Absolutely, and I think that was another book, the Miseducation of the Negro, right?
Yeah.
But we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it here. So hello, someone says, "Good evening, future mayor." Hello, Mr. Burns. Hello. I'm just gonna show you guys the very last book that we have. Africans and Native Americans: The Language of Race and the Evolution of Red Black Peoples, by Jack D. Forbes. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, they're showing you how they created the slave caste system. When the colonizers first came here to America, the European settlers, when they decided to colonize the land and enslave African people, that when they brought the Africans, when they brought African people over here from Africa, they had Aboriginal Native Americans here that had Negro features. It is also recorded that, some of the early settlers that came here said how the indigenous people of North America look like Africans. They had Negroid features. So the thing is, red black people, this was the first, the Negro Act, when they put Aboriginal Native Americans that had Negroid features and the African slaves, they put them all together in a slave caste system. And this is when they implemented the Negro Act, meaning there's no distinction between the Aboriginal Native American and the African. We look at them as Negro, black, and colored, meaning they all synonymous with each other. There's no distinction. So that's why they call them red black people. They was labeling the Aboriginal Native Americans that was over here. They labeled them as black, red black people, because they had a reddish type of complexion. They had a reddish pigment, but they were very dark. They had a lot of melanin. They had a lot of dark complexion. They was red. They had a reddish dark complexion, but like I said, they looked just like the Africans that they enslaved and brought over here. So when they put us under the Negro Act together, there was no distinction. You know, we was both considered Negro,
Right.
black and colored.
Right, absolutely. So listen, good stuff, good stuff. I see that there's some comments, but we have this one last tiny clip. It's like 7 seconds that I want to show you guys. And it's a book because we want you to read. But for those of you who time is just not that flexible because of your schedule, there are audio books available. So this is another book, Powernomics.
The book, Black Labor, White Wealth, has taken Black America by storm. Tonight, Dr. Claude Anderson revisits the issues surrounding the controversial book. Welcome to Detroit Black Journal. I'm Darrell Wood. On this edition of the Journal, Dr. Claude Anderson provides solutions to make Black America economically competitive as a group. That's straight ahead on Detroit Black Journal.
Okay. And again, we're stopping there because it's up to you to go to YouTube and look at the rest of that. Because like I said, a lot of these books are audio books. That is for those who are, you know, like I said, have a very busy schedule that you can lay down at night if you're tired and still listen to this. Very great stuff. Okay, so we're going to go to the comments. Angeline Montenbon says, Sheila, I am the membership chair for Newark Teachers Association. NTA is an NJEA affiliate. Absolutely. We are currently looking at the local election in Newark. We are going to need to speak with you. Okay, that is excellent. That is fine, but I'm not sure it's related to our show. So please inbox me any personal questions and comments that you may have, and I would love to get back to you on that. But thank you for that. Mr. Burns says, peace be with you. Thank you so much, Mr. Burns. I appreciate that comment. Peace be with us all because we're in some times and we need that. So Katina says, good evening, shout outs. Hello, Katina. Hello, beautiful. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I'm trying to see if anyone has any questions. Does anyone have any questions? So I see Manera says, and I'm looking at something else. There are quite a few other comments here. So Mr. Burns says, preach. Okay, Edward says, what are some of the its will you be looking at the local school board election? Also, will your inquiry have any effect on this upcoming election? Okay, once again, I'm not sure that that's related to tonight's show, which is pertaining to Black codes. Anything pertaining to the school board election, great questions, but let's entertain that on a different, at a different time if possible. Dominique Ashley says African American is the appropriate grouping. What do you say about that?
Well, African American, they say that African American has no standing in law. You know, when they speak about anything that's supposed to be, talking about Black people, they say minority. They use vague terms. They use broad terms when they say minority. Minority is a broad term. It's very vague. You know what I mean? They say white women are a minority. You could say quadriplegic people is a minority. So African American, tell me in law where you see African American. And I'm talking about in the Constitution and anything that's supposed to represent Black people as an ethnic group. African American is just something to title us as. It's not, we're not written in the Constitution, written in any type of laws as African or African American.
Wow. Now I'm gonna be honest, I did not realize that. It fits though. Listen, for those of you who had questions on the broadcast this evening about education and other things, my email is going across the bottom of the screen, and if you would be so kind as to just send those questions to montaguefornewark@gmail.com, I will most certainly be happy to respond to them. So Manera says American nationals. What is your response to that? I think she was saying also, that maybe that was another name, but I think you kind of just addressed that.
I mean, we can throw some names around. We just have to all be in agreement with it as a people. black people that's classified as Negro, black, and colored, because everybody here is not classified. Our Caribbean and African brothers and sisters, they're legally classified as white. They're not classified as black. The ones that's classified as black is able to trace their lineage back to the slave plantations of the North and South.
Okay.
So yes. So this is only for certain, people that's labeled as Black American.
Right.
Okay, so the foreign brothers and sisters from the African diaspora and the Caribbean is not legally classified as black. They're legally classified as white. So this is why it's very important to research this. So we're talking about American nationals, like I said, us that's classified as black legally, we would have to agree as a collective.
Right.
And,
right.
If the next step is to go to the Supreme Court and get these laws redacted so we can get proper political representation as an ethnic group, if we're going to run as American nationals, wherever it may be, we all have to be on the same page with this. And everybody's not going to be on the same page as this, because you have religious leaders and political leaders know that black has no standing in law, but they won't speak about it because they're gatekeepers.
And that's the next question. Mr. Burns is asking, they're using people like Candace Owens and Jason Whitlock to push that agenda. Do you agree, disagree? What are your thoughts?
I'm not really sure. I don't really listen to Candace Owens a lot. You know what I'm saying? Now, if they want us to run as a political, what they call that, as a political republic, if they want us to run like that, that would probably make more sense. But like I said, you're going to have to get these laws redacted, because every time we go and try to do something, they're always going to try to suppress us lawfully.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm?
Yeah, no, I agree. Manera says there's no remedy for the 14th Amendment slaves. What do you say to that?
If there's no remedy, then we're going to have to eradicate these laws, or they're going to have to modify it. So we can have.
Yeah,
you understand?
I agree, Akan. And like I said, it's the work that people don't want to do. A lot of times with with activists, right? It's just a groundswell a lot of the times with the grassroots movements, and then people want to fizzle out. And I think that we just have to follow up and stay consistent with making sure that these laws get changed, and being steadfast on that. Manera says black is not a nationality or a status. Someone said something earlier about Candace Owens, and I would suggest that people stop looking at these parties as two different things. And you can give me what you think about that, Akan, in a moment, but I get so frustrated sometimes when you hear our people like Democrat. Neither one of these parties are for us. Neither one of them, please let this sink in, are for us. But we have to identify what is it that the Democrats are doing. Does that fit in with our common interests? What is it that Republicans are doing? Is that the best or fit in with our common interests? That is the new way that we need to look at this. There has to be a point that people stop giving the Democratic Party this blind loyalty. Loyalty has a shelf life. I'm sorry, and it's time up for that, because I mean, again, we've been voting Democrat for as long as I've been alive. Look at our communities.
That's right.
And that's not to say to vote for anybody else, but it is to say stop it with the blind, Democrat. Stop it. Open your eyes. Open your eyes and pay attention. Now, what are your thoughts on that, my friend?
With these political parties, like I said,
it's just that
one thing that they agree on is to keep us suppressed as an underclass. I don't care which one said they're going to do this or do that. They never follow through with their promises.
And thank you. Biden got in office. The first thing he did,
he ignored us.
Signing legislation for immigrants. Signing legislation for Asian hate crime.
Yes.
There has been no bigger smack in the face.
That's right.
I'm sorry. And I can't with the again, that blind loyalty. Nobody should be able to get your loyalty after they cold cop you in the face and
straight give you a cold shoulder after you went out and voted for them.
And then tell you that they're gonna mandate a drug that hasn't been tested thoroughly to your fire. Are you kidding? And then they're gatekeepers, right? The people who you love and trust this locally in local government, they push the same agenda. So, and whether that leadership is coming from a municipality, whether it's coming from the church, they're pushing an agenda, and they're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, they are the gatekeepers, and they're pushing the agenda because, like I said, they want to do the bidding and make sure that the other ethnic groups get what they need. They're going to give them tangibles. They're not going to give us nothing because, like I said, us being in this dead status don't give us proper political representation. You see, they mix us in with everybody else. When they're talking about so-called people of color, minority, like I said, that's a broad term. You can pick and choose who you're going to give tangibles to at that point because you're not directly promising us anything as an ethnic group. Because black people, you know what I'm saying, like I said, we dead in the eyes of the law. So just off of that, they're not going to give us a direct, message or address where they say they're going to do something for us. They're going to continue to neglect us as a people.
And we must say no to that. We must steadfast and just say no to that. And again, it requires us to pivot, right? And sometimes we have the hardest time with the pivot, right? You got to switch it up. You got to switch it up. Maybe let me see what these Democrats are talking about. You ain't talking right. Let me go see what these Republicans are talking about. Like, again, it's about the negotiation. And I remember, I will keep saying this. They dragged Ice Cube for saying this. What are y'all talking about? What are y'all offering us? And right after that, you got the worst lesson. Like I said, when that man got in office and just ignored us. And, we can't continue to play these types of games. So
we should have known that there was going to be.
We got about a minute. Yeah, we got 2 minutes left. I'm going to let you have the last. And then I'll get you the books again.
Okay, well, we have to understand that we're not, when it comes to law, we're very mentally incompetent when it comes to law. These black codes have always been the bane of our progress and our growth. And I feel like the objective should be trying to eradicate these laws. You understand? That might be a long journey, but it's good to have this knowledge so we can pass it on to the future generations. So maybe they could stand in solidarity and get rid of these black code laws and be able to dismantle this color caste system and replace it with a system of equal justice.
Look, Akan, I apologize, but we do have 2 minutes left. So I just want you to respond quickly, if you can, to 2 comments. Dominique Ashley says Caribbeans are a part of the Americas. What's your response?
Okay, the Caribbeans are a part of Americas, but we're part of America because they consider the Guyanese Caribbean, and that's South America, and the Brazilians are South America. So the Americas, are we talking North, Central, or South America? You understand? We're in North America. So I don't know. When she say the Americas, that's a very broad term because you got North America, you got Central America, and you got South America. And it's not all ran the same. We have a color caste system in all parts of the Americas, but we dealing with North America. I don't know. It's a broad term that she said. I don't know really how to answer that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate your effort there. And the last comment, Manera says, American nationals have more standing and status than being called Black Americans. Your response?
Yeah, because it seems like the American nationals is going to run as a political republic. You understand? So, yes, it would give political representation, and we are running as a political republic. But like I said, the problem is that we have the collectiveness. We have no economic power. And to have political power, they say you must have economic power. We do, if we could get in solidarity, but the problem is we have too many schisms. You got a lot of black people saying they Democrat, and then you got some black people that saying they Republican. There's some that say they liberal, some say they conservative. So the question is how can we come together in solidarity and follow that title as American nationals and use that as political representation for people that's classified as Black Americans. That's only my only question. Because,
Akan,
we have a lot of schisms,
absolutely. Akan, just thank you so much for
You're
joining WAGE
welcome.
tonight.
You're welcome.
Just being able
My
to
pleasure.
wonderful information. Can we count on you to come back on again in the future?
You sure can. Whatever help I can be to bring awareness, to the people, so we can have a better world, in a better country. This
Yes,
is
that's the goal.
this is not throwing shots at nobody. It's just bringing forth awareness. You know what I'm saying? So knowledge is power. Truth is power.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Have a great rest of your evening, and until
Okay.
next time, peace.
Thank you. Bye bye.